And by the way, if I can just add one other thing, you've got these great problems with air services. Look, the problem with air services is it's why the Soviet Union collapsed. It really is. It's a government-owned body that's trying to give a service like that. I remember back on the 2 airline days when everyone said if competition was brought in with the airlines, and it was the Labor government that decided that competition would come in, and all the predictions that if the government didn't own and control the airline prices that everyone would die. What happened, of course, is that the costs have come dramatically down. Far more Australians have flown than ever before. Our road toll is down from 3,500 a year to about 1,000 because so many people have moved off the roads into flying, which is so much safer.
And other reasons.
And other reasons? Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of reasons.
RBT, they halved in New South Wales the first year, from 1,800 to 900 the first year.
Definitely RBT, but all of these things together, I'm naturally pro-aviation, so I'm going to mention the positive bit about aviation.
Smith, can I just hold you up? Because so far we've been about 40 minutes.
Yep.
We've had 2 questions asked.
Yes, certainly. I'll let you
go. So Senator Xenophon, do you have another question? Good. And can we concentrate on air services? That's what this inquiry is about, please.
I'll let you.
No way, you got more questions?
Well, if we can just focus on, you heard the evidence from Air Services. Yep. What's your view? Is it functioning well or is it a dysfunctional organisation in your view in the context of aviation? And you heard my question about what appeared to be a near miss with a double go-around at Melbourne Airport on the 5th of July. Do you think that the the ADS-B system will cause some general aviation operators and small commercial aviation operators to cut corners?
Yes, what it will do is it'll move money from important safety issues to an issue which is not going to improve safety in any measurable way for these aircraft. And so what they will do, the ones who stay in business, you'll find they will do less flying training. The extra things that every small aviation company should do, they'll do less of that. They're forced to by the reality of the marketplace. And we've also got to be careful about getting below the efficiencies of scale where you just end up with an industry that just doesn't have enough maintenance organisations available.
And that poses safety issues in itself, doesn't it?
Absolutely. When it comes to airline safety, in relation to the incident in Melbourne, I wouldn't make any comments until I had all of the information, so I don't know enough about it, I'm sorry.
Right, that's fine. Yep.
Okay. Further questions, Senator Xenophon?
No.
Senator Rice, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Mr Smith.
Yep.
In your submission, in your point 4, that Air Services functioning as a secret organisation, my concluding question of Air Services Australia was whether they saw that they needed to make any improvements in terms of transparency and accountability, which they didn't mention in terms of the key priorities that they were taking on board. But I'm wondering, can you expand on that assertion that it's operating as a secret organisation and what changes in transparency and accountability you'd like to see out of Air Services Australia?
You see, they can't. They're not. They're a monopoly. They're not a real business. They're a government-owned monopoly, and I think.
On that issue, you couldn't have competition. Have 10 companies doing it, could you? It'd have to be a monopoly.
Well, first of all of the air traffic control towers could be open to competition, which they are. 50% of the control towers in the United States are contract towers, run locally by air traffic controllers who are employed in the town. The rescue and firefighting service, we're the only country in the world that I know of that runs it as a government monopoly from the capital city. It's just run from each airport and everyone's multitasked.
From the capital cities, every fire service at every country airport is run from the cities on the monopoly basis as well.
Yes. Yeah, at Ballina Airport, there's 17 firemen who are employed from Canberra, and they play table tennis and that because do they do security work? No, they're not allowed to. Whereas a decision was made under Mark Vaile, a press release was sent out saying that we were going to open up the small towers and the rescue and firefighting to competition, but it never happened. And of course, if it's open to competition...
Why didn't it happen?
For political reasons. I think the department would have advised the Minister, the air traffic controllers might go out on strike, or the fire union might go out on strike if you open it up to competition. So if you don't do anything, nothing will happen, and nothing happened.
Can we get
Yep.
response to my question. You were saying that a monopoly is an issue.
Yeah, so it's interesting. They're on a no-win situation because if they try and be secretive, because I suppose it's just natural for a bureaucracy to be secretive. But as I explained when I was chairman of the combined organisation, that there won't be any secrets because people just leak, they fall out and they leak. And recently documentation's been sent around about One Skies, and it shows the futility of secrecy. It's better just to be completely open. And this is about aviation safety. What air services are, and the reason they're still owned by the government is everyone's so concerned, if it went off to some form of competition. And I would always imagine the government, I like the British system where it's half government owned and half owned by the industry. But then it is very much more, and by the way, all of the approach facilities, Newcastle Airport, Bristol Airport, they just run either by the airport or the the aviation air traffic control service provider. It quotes and sometimes gets the contract for the next 3 years. And so it's all of the terminal services are open to competition, which means, first of all, they're very much lower cost, and secondly, they're a high level of safety because if you get too many incidents, it's pretty obvious you're not going to get the contract next year. And it's exactly the same with flying in planes. There are certain international airlines that people don't fly with because they have accidents, whereas people know very quickly who's the safest service provider. But yes, so often air services claim commercial in confidence when there really shouldn't be anything that's commercial in confidence. I know when I was chairman of CAA, nothing that I ever saw could ever be considered to be commercial in confidence because we're a monopoly. We're owned by the government. We're a monopoly.
No competition.
There's no competition. No one can compete with us.
On the firefighter service, wasn't there a trial in Townsville about opening up to competition? Are you aware of that?
I think there was.
And I think it was...
But it was kept pretty secret.
I don't think it was very successful either. Continue, Senator Rice.
Well,
and so that's why...
They'd make sure that it wouldn't work, I suppose. But look, running fire engines, what I've been told is that an airport like Ballina would have, the best thing to do is to have a small, like an Isuzu truck, to train the existing airport personnel to do the fire service. They go off and do a course every year. And the small tender does to get to the aircraft quickly, because it appears if you're not to the aircraft within a couple of minutes, and what you can do in the first few minutes is where you're going to save lives.
Fire took a heap of fuel, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
To get there quickly.
Yeah, and look, our criteria for the fire engines is obviously quite ridiculous at the moment, because in other countries, first of all, you put...
Who sets that criteria? Air Services?
No, it's set by ASA, and they've accepted an ICAO recommendation, which
What's
is...
What's ICAO?
International Civil Aviation Organisation. Right. But it's obviously completely ridiculous, because what you would do and what other countries do is they help prevent the chance of the accident happening in the first place. So what happens at a small country airport, the first thing is you get a radio operator at the airport, because a common problem is someone on the wrong frequency. It's called a unicom. Then the next thing you get is Class E controlled airspace. In America, any airport with an airline traffic has controlled airspace.
But you couldn't do that in I live at Inverell.
Yep.
I fly out in a Barron every 3 or 4 times a year. We couldn't have a full-time employee. In America, that would be Class E controlled airspace. Every airport... But what I'm saying is you wouldn't have a full-time radio operator sitting there. No, it's done from see, this is the thing. It's done from at the moment, the airspace in Inverell is uncontrolled airspace, but there is a air traffic controller responsible for that airspace, talking to you on the radio and giving you traffic information. Yep. The change is you make it controlled and you separate traffic. Now, at Inverell, if there's only one plane an hour, there's no extra workload. No, less than that. But if there's 2 planes at once, the air traffic controller will ask one to hold. But let me just finish this. So the criteria in other countries is you prevent the accident in the first place, then you put a control tower in, of course, then you eventually meet the criteria for rescue and firefighting service. At Ballina, we've reversed the whole thing. We've put in a fire station worth $12 million. I think it's 17 staff. We have not even a radio operator to check your radios on the correct frequency, no controlled airspace, no tower. It's completely reversed on common sense and logic. How many flights a day into Ballina now?
There's quite a large number and quite a large number of passengers. But to put in a fire station to pull burning bodies out of planes when you don't even have any controlled airspace or even a radio operator to help prevent the accident happening in the first place is just completely incompetent.
Senator Rice, another question.